1012, and it gives me 1,250 feet. Exit.
Announced the arrival of the flight from Los Angeles and Chicago.
Explosion.
And good day, one and all. Welcome to this Wednesday, May 18th, 2016 edition of T&Z Talk. I am Tony Trupiano, the T in T&Z. He is Richard Zombeck, the writer extraordinaire for the Huffington Post and Liberals Unite, and Richard Zombeck, the Z in T&Z. Great to be with you. We had a couple days off. Both of us had stuff to do. I guess one of the benefits to doing a podcast is you can take time when you need it.
Very true, sir. Very true.
Well, you know, sadly, and I say that with all sincerity, since Friday, not a whole freaking lot has happened. I mean, we had primaries yesterday. We'll get into that in a moment. But really, you know, having been away for 4 days, you would think that we would have so much stuff to get to that we wouldn't be able to fit it into an hour or two or three or four.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, too, it was like, I mean, you know, I love doing the show, and I hate being away from it. I always feel like I'm being irresponsible. And last night and this morning, I was going, oh, God, really?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Trump some more?
Well,
please.
Yeah, unfortunately we are. And Clinton and Sanders and, you know, at some point, and actually we're going to start doing a feature. We haven't named it yet, but we're going to do at least one segment every day that is not election related. Just for our mental health and the mental health of our audience. And so...
well, and also I think it's more interesting, right? I mean... Everyone's covering this crap.
Yeah.
And the other stuff is getting lost.
No question about it. And in fact, you know, I've been listening to NPR a lot. I've been in the car more than I've been in recent months. And besides the fact that the delivery drives me nuts, this is Ari Shapiro. Welcome to National Public Radio. Today, the president was assassinated. You know, it's just like, dude, wake up. And he's not the only one. They all sound like that. But anyway.
Except for Car Talk.
Right. And there are a few others. I like On Point. That's a little better. But anyway, yeah. The point is that NPR doesn't do straight politics 24/7 because nobody would listen to it 24/7, right? And so, you know, we're going to get away from doing election coverage for the entire hour every day. I mean, we're going to have to touch on it, of course. It's what's out there. It's big. It matters. And we don't want to deny that. At the same time, you know, as I've said throughout my entire radio career, the only one that has to listen to every minute of every show is me. And, yeah, I get sick of it, too. Before we go any further, because we have not been doing this, a good job of doing this, we need to start front-loading our podcast with how people can help us out and stay connected with us and subscribe. So why don't we get that out of the way? And I mean that in all the good ways you can mean that.
Well, Tony Trupiano, if you'd like to know, not you, but the people listening would like to know how to follow us and support. My mic went off.
Yeah, well,
TNZ Talk.
You're back now, so.
TNZTalk.com, and you can find out the myriad ways of how you can support us, both financially and by backing us up with reviews and ratings. Of course, you can follow us and find out everything you need to know. We do need your support, or we really can't. I hate to sound like NPR or reader-supported news, but we can't do this without you, and we can't do this without support, and we can't do this. We can't pay our rent. We can't pay our bills. We can't pay our internet.
And we can't pay attention.
We can't pay attention without your help.
You know, you remember that old Rodney Dangerfield line that used to go, or whoever it was, I'm so poor I can't even pay attention? Yeah. It's not a joke.
Yeah, you're kind of dating yourself.
But it's really not a... No, it's just I have a historical perspective. Don't do that to me. That's my way of trying to save my ass on that one. But anyway, it's just there's some truth to it. When you're in a financial crunch, you have trouble paying attention. Anyway, let's begin the show today by talking about the primary results. We don't need to talk about the Republican side of it because, frankly, Donald Trump won in both Kentucky and Oregon, and as he should have. By the way, John Kasich
and Cruz came in.
Yeah, well, you know. With all that said, Clinton wins Kentucky by a small margin. Sanders wins Oregon by an okay margin. And we have, I think, 5 states left, and the math is severely against Bernie Sanders. He would need to win something like, I don't know. Steve Kornacki gave me the numbers this morning because he's the numbers guy at MSNBC. 65% of all delegates moving forward, which is just literally not possible because the Democrats award delegates proportionately. So even if Hillary Clinton were to get, 40% of the vote in the remaining states, she would have enough to get the nomination.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was.
Well, didn't they split Kentucky, right?
They did split Kentucky.
In delegates and in votes.
Yeah, they did split Kentucky. Bernie got 45 more delegates in Oregon than Hillary did, but obviously it's not enough to make up the difference. And,
then he's still got a chance.
I know. He keeps telling us that. When you start a sentence with, I realize that the math works against us, and I realize that the mountain we need to climb is almost insurmountable, but I'm sorry, you kind of lost me at, I can't win, but I'm going to pretend like I can. And I told you that I posted a story this morning on social media about the Bernie supporters becoming very nasty in Nevada. And as I posted it, I said, I'm sure that there are an equal, if not more, stories about Clinton supporters doing the same thing. But 2 wrongs don't make a right. And it doesn't really matter what your definition of right or wrong is. What is happening in Nevada is wrong. You would agree with me. I know that.
Of course.
Literally 10 seconds after I posted it on Facebook, somebody jumped all over my crap. And now they're saying, gee, Tony, have you joined Chris Matthews and the rest of the lamestream media? Oh, sweet Jesus. None of you are addressing what the post was about, which was divisiveness and violence. But come after me about, the neoliberal that Hillary is and how corrupt the DNC is. I don't freaking care.
But Tony,
I don't want Donald Trump to be my president, Z.
It doesn't matter what the article said. People only read the headlines.
Ugh.
And then they make up their minds about what the story's about, and they comment on it.
Well,
I mean, I've written stories where people have, what you didn't address was, and then my response is always, if you got past paragraph 4, you would have realized that, in fact, I did address that.
And you know what bothers me about people that attack your writing is that you always reference and cross-reference your material, and you provide links, and apparently people don't understand that when something in the middle of a paragraph is blue and underlined, that if you click on it, it'll actually take you to the source. We don't mean to confuse people. Yes, there are stupid Democrats as well. Plenty of them, actually. And last night, I was at an event for the blog that I write for, FwdRad.io, my little plug, and have this conversation with too many people. I mean, too many people to the point where it made me incredibly uncomfortable. How many people thought that liking something on Facebook or commenting on Facebook or retweeting somebody's something or posting something to Instagram or creating a Pinterest page is activism. And I just wanted to regurgitate. I literally just wanted to regurgitate, but I didn't because it wouldn't have looked good.
Well, I mean, links are kind of modern day footnotes, right?
Yeah, we can go there.
You know, when you used to see the little 1 and the little tiny 2, and you look down at the bottom of the page and there'd be a reference to where the author got the information from, that's what links are. And people just actually accuse me of making stuff up. Well, you might have your opinion, but yeah, but my opinion is well sourced. It's based on fact. There's evidence right here. Just click it. Go ahead.
There you go. See, here's your problem. You're smart. You're not afraid to show that you're smart. You put your opinion out there. You're not afraid to be challenged by your opinion, but it's all based in, this 4-letter word that begins with an F. Fact.
Yeah, those pesky facts. Hey, can we just go on a little sidebar and I want to tell a story.
Sure, love sidebars. Let's take a little trip. See?
Yeah. So one of the reasons we weren't here for one of the shows was I went up to Maine to see my parents, and help them with some stuff. And my father's a really kind of handy guy. I mean, you wouldn't think it because he was an astrophysicist. He went to MIT, and you'd think nerds like that aren't handy. But my whole life, I grew up watching, a handy guy. And my dryer broke. Well, it didn't break. It was making a noise. It was making a weird noise, like a clunk, 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 clunk. So last Thursday, I got it into my head that, what guys do is they take things apart and fix them. So I took my dryer apart. And what the problem was the blower fan was busted and it was clunking around. So I ordered one. And I looked at my kitchen and I had everything taken apart, Tony. And I started being afraid that I wasn't going to be able to put it back together. And there were wires that go to leads and screws. There were probably 37 screws. I think I counted close to 37 different screws that I'd taken out, and I took the door off. I took panels out. I took the blower fan out. I got the right part. It was going to come Monday or Tuesday. It came Monday. Well, no, actually, this happened yesterday. It came Monday, and I was putting everything back together, and one of the main big panels fell and broke another piece.
Oh, Jesus.
So I had to order that, and of course the shipping, because I had to have it within 2 days, was more expensive than the part. But I got that part and I put it together. And I've been telling this story to guy friends of mine. And as you know, I go to AA, and there's some very nice people, but there are also some pretty unsavory people. And I was talking to people who would stab their own mothers. And they were looking at me going, "Ooh, boy, you've got a bigger set than I do. I would never do that. I'd call someone. I'd have a repairman come in." And right there, all my concepts about manhood and manliness were completely thrown out the window. And I realized how stupid I was to have attempted this.
Not at all. And I got to tell you, maybe a little over a year ago, my dryer stopped heating. So I went on and found a YouTube video that told me what one of the fixes would be. And it was literally a $4 fuse. Okay? So I thought, there's no way I can do this. I'm going to just call a repairman and have him come out and fix it. So I called, and it was $65 just to come to the house, and then another $65 to fix it, plus the part, which I knew was $4, which meant they would charge $40. So I thought, okay, I can buy a new dryer for that kind of money.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't make any sense. So I thought, what's the worst that can happen, right? I don't fix it properly, or that isn't the fix to the problem. And at that point, I'll just buy a new dryer because I didn't care. I mean, I thought, okay. So I go to there was a place literally a mile and a half from my house that sold parts, and I called, and they had it. And so I drove over there, picked up the $4 part, brought it back, watched the YouTube video how to fix it, did it exactly like they did it on the video, and it worked. Now, I never completely put it back together, but it didn't matter. It worked. I mean, the bottom line is it worked for $4 in about 20 minutes of my time.
Yeah, my fear with the wiring was that's a 240-volt plug, and 110 might not kill you, but 240 will.
Yes. No question about it. Well, congratulations for... I'm assuming you fixed it, by the way.
I did. It works beautifully.
Okay. Well, congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Nice side.
I'll tell you what, though. My father and I share one thing in common, is that we both have a fear of heights and getting on ladders.
As do
and I can barely get on a step stool to change a light bulb. But you want to know how my dad got over his fear of heights?
This should be really interesting.
He got an estimate for how much it was going to cost to fix the roof.
Well, that'll do it. That'll do it. I'm not good at roofs. I mean, I've done it. And you got to keep in mind that most of my adult life, I was well over 300 pounds. At one point, over 500 pounds. So the idea of getting on top of a roof, not that I was afraid it would collapse, I was afraid that forward momentum would not work in my favor for obvious reasons. And so I avoided situations like that. And I used to hire my nephew to come over and clean the gutters because I was afraid to get on the ladder. I mean, just stop and think about being that large, getting at the top of a ladder, all of a sudden it starts to topple back. It's over. Inertia. Dude, there's no way I'm stopping that. But anyway, that's behind us now. And now I am a very svelte 170 pounds. So I feel good about that. Hey, listen, the big Donald Trump, Megyn Kelly interview was last night. I'm assuming you didn't watch it.
I did not.
All right, nor did I.
Well, I didn't watch it live. I watched the tape. I watched the recording.
How long was the interview?
About 11 minutes.
All right. Well, it's getting panned this morning by most of the major media that said that it was just Megyn Kelly light.
Yeah. It was sad. It was a total suck up, and it was really kind of depressing to watch. That's really all I have to say.
I'm sorry. I got to tell you, there's a reason that you got my silence. The dog's on the bed. I have a studio in my bedroom, and anyway, the dog's on the bed, so I just turned around to see what he was doing, and he has buried himself under all the covers. All I see is a lump, because I didn't see him at first, and I'm thinking, where the hell did he go? But I see a big lump under the covers, so he unmade the bed and made himself comfortable.
Excellent. Well, good for him.
Well, yeah, I'm a little jealous, but anyway, I did not hear much good about this. Anyway, we've got a little clip that we're going to play, and so we'll just let it speak for itself.
Let's talk about us.
Okay.
We were always friendly. Right. Good relationship.
Right? And then came the August 6, 2015 debate, and I asked you a tough question about women using only the words that you had used. I thought it was a fair question. Why didn't you?
I thought it was unfair. First of all, I didn't think it was really a question. I thought it was more of a statement. That's the first question that I've ever been asked during a debate, and I've never debated before. I mean, my whole life is a debate, but I've never actually debated before. And I'm saying to myself, man, what a question. And then, of course, then you have Brett doing his thing, so I'm saying to myself, I got 2 hours of this. I don't really blame you because you're doing your thing, but from my standpoint, I don't have to like it.
Afterward, you said you didn't feel that the moderators had been nice. But do you think it's the journalist's role to be nice to presidential candidates at a debate?
No, fair. I don't care if they're nice. They have to
you use the word nice.
Well, okay. No, I don't think so. I mean, I might have said they weren't nice, but that doesn't mean they have to be nice. I mean, I've known many...
You know, it's not a cocktail party.
No. I tell you what, in a certain way, what you did might have been a favor, because I felt so good about having gotten through. I said, if I can get through this debate with those questions, you can get through anything.
You seemed to stay angry for months.
Yeah.
Was that real, or was that strategy?
Well, I'm a real person. I don't say, oh, gee, I'm angry tonight, but tomorrow you're my best friend. See, I do have a theory that, you know, when somebody does it, and this could happen again with us. I mean, it could be even doing this particular interview. I have great respect for you that you were able to call me and say, let's get together and let's talk. To me, I would not have done that. I don't say that as as a positive. I think it's a negative for me. And you walk into Trump Tower, we didn't have like on a neutral site or over at Fox or something. That would be a whole different thing, and I wouldn't have done it.
I think the doormen are still recovering.
I think the whole building's recovering. You have people going like, this can't be possible, right?
Well, it was.
I love you. I love you too.
I love you too.
No, I love you more. I love you infinity.
Oh, man. Just bad. And I don't even care what happened after that or before that or whenever that. I think that's how they began the interview. So I don't really care what happened because clearly there was nothing but love in the room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it went on from there too. She wanted him during the interview to kind of say, look, I was wrong. And he answered with, hey, look, what I did and the things I said worked. Look where I am. And I got to tell you, I fault him for everything he said, but I understand what he's saying. It's like, hey, look, this worked. He wants to win. It was interesting because there was a psychologist on one of the news shows, and I don't remember which one it was. I think it might have been in the afternoon while I was doing some other stuff, and I had it on in the background. And there was a psychologist who has analyzed Trump, and he said something really interesting. And let me know what you think about this, because what he said is that his whole goal in life is to win, is to be number one, is to come in first. And most people that win the presidency, they get into the White House and they go, okay, now it's time to start putting some of my policies into play. It's time to start passing legislation. What this guy was saying was that once he gets there, what is there left for him to do? I mean, he has no policies. He has no agenda. He has no legislation. Once he gets the presidency, if he does, once he gets there, what's next?
That's a great question. I mean, it's a scary question, but it's a great question. By the way, Donald Trump has said that he is going to outline and address the controversies of his past, and he is going to begin to redefine himself to the public. Now,
which a comment that makes absolutely no sense to me.
Well, yes, it does. In the context that you brought up on the show last week, which is he's an entertainer and he's playing a part, and he realized that he had to have somebody rewrite the character. So he's signed off on that character, and now he will play that character.
Yeah, I mean, that's why. I mean, I say it makes no sense. I mean, it makes perfect sense, but it makes it makes no sense in the context of
reality
of reality and saying that out loud. I mean, who have people been voting for then? And why aren't they questioning that?
They don't
and why
care.
Aren't they?
And you know this. This is how the supporters will spin that. Hey, listen, you guys wanted a kinder, gentler, more approachable Donald. Well, you're getting him. What more do you want? I mean, every time he gives you what you want, it's not enough for you. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's go back to the Democrats for a moment. I don't want to blow over this. There was an incident last weekend at the Nevada State Convention where Senator Barbara Boxer was presiding over, I don't want to call it the festivities because that would suggest that it was festive, and it was anything but. It was contentious. And the Bernie Sanders delegates that were there were not happy with the caucus results. And although they were already set in stone because the caucus was back in February, it got a little bit out of control. Chris Hayes on MSNBC addressed this, and this is how it sounded.
Harry Reid is also weighing in on all this.
Condemn what happened on Thursday. I talked to him on Friday. I talked to him just a few minutes ago. He and I had a very long conversation. For me, as some of you know, my conversations aren't very long a lot of times, but I think we talked for 10 minutes or maybe a little longer. He said that he condemns that, and I'm confident he does. I'm confident he will be saying something about it soon. This is a test of leadership, as we all know, and I'm hopeful and very confident Senator Sanders will do the right thing.
All right, I want to bring in now MSNBC's Chris Jansing, who has been covering some of this. And you're with the Sanders campaign, and Bernie Sanders just put out a statement. What's their perspective on this, Chris?
It's a completely different perspective than we heard from Harry Reid, and if he was looking for some kind of kumbaya statement, he didn't get it. Look, they have denounced the violence. They called for there to be calm before that convention even happened. He has said afterwards that he does not in any way condone any kind of violence. Having said that, they also say that they understand what has motivated the frustration, what they call high levels of frustration. Chris, I spent the last hour on the phone with two of Bernie Sanders' biggest supporters. One, his campaign manager, Jeff Weaver, who told me, quote, they ran roughshod over him, meaning Bernie Sanders, with the way the rules played out at that convention in Nevada. And he said that any suggestion that there was violence that was condoned by the Sanders campaign, and I'm quoting Jeff Sanders here, they want to use this as a pretext for mistreating us at the national convention. You can see that the level of frustration, the level of tension between the Sanders campaign, Clinton supporters, Harry Reid, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is only escalating over this. And then he said, where is the fairness? The chairwoman and the standing committees in Nevada were all pro-Clinton. After I talked to him and the conversation continued along those lines, they really feel as though they were mistreated there, as though, as he said to me on Sunday night after all this happened, that the finger was on the scale for Hillary Clinton by the head of the Democratic Party in Nevada. I called former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner. She's been a vocal supporter of Senator Sanders. She was there. She was there for 8 hours. She told me she was there from 10 to 6. She believes, again, that this is a pretext by the Hillary Clinton campaign, that they're trying to present Sanders supporters as somehow being rabble-rousers, as being violent, when in fact, she said, all they're asking for is fairness, that there was no fairness. There weren't even enough chairs, that at one point she claims they threatened to arrest one of the people who came there representing Bernie Sanders because she didn't have the proper credentials. This is not something that is going to be settled quickly or quietly, Chris, judging by my conversations with the Sanders side. Again, I want to reiterate, everyone I've spoken to, from Tad Devine to Jeff Weaver, both senior officials with the campaign, to Nina Turner, one of his most visible supporters, absolutely denouncing violence. But when I asked Nina Turner, does she think this is something with implications for the Democratic National Convention, she said yes, Chris.
That's
Where do we take it from there? Oh boy, it's clear.
Well, even with it was like 3.5 minutes of stuff there. I don't know. It's still really confusing.
Well, it's not to me. And let me just make this simple. I'll go back to what I said at the top of the show. We all know the difference between right and wrong. What the delegates did, the Bernie delegates did at the convention, were wrong. The problem that they had was that there was a voice vote taken. And listen, voice votes should be eliminated to begin with. But on this particular procedural vote, it was already decided, and that was how the delegates would be doled out. And so when Barbara Boxer asked for a voice vote, the no's were louder, I've watched the video, than the yeses. But it doesn't matter because the question was already decided. And you don't usurp the caucus because you don't like the result. And this is where we're running into a problem. And this is why the system needs to be changed, because it leaves too much wiggle room in an eventuality that we ended up with, that Bernie Sanders ended up being far more popular and doing far better than anybody thought he ever would or could. And somebody explained to me last night when I was at this event that the pro-Bernie people that are the most rabid were out there a year ahead of his announcing he was going to run. And so they've got so much skin in the game. They've been doing this for almost 2 years now. The thought of it not happening has got them absolutely freaked out. And so at some level, I understand that disappointment. I understand their passion. But I cannot and will not endorse on either side the kind of vitriol, divisiveness, dirty-handed tricks, violence, name-calling, death threats that are going on right now. I can't buy it. I can't do it. And so if in the process I end up losing some followers, so be it. But I am so tired of people telling me that are pro-Bernie what a whore Hillary Clinton is. I'm just tired of hearing it.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty bad.
So I wanted to make sure that we got to that. Listen, the president announced late in the day yesterday, President Obama, that he is going to expand the overtime rules. The White House put out a little instructional video, and I thought it might be helpful if we shared that with the audience today, Z, so that they could get a better understanding of exactly how it will work. It is going to affect about just under 5 million workers in the country today, because they're expanding this program. And it'll actually mean about, for the average person, about $7,000 more in their pocket every year. So if we can play that video, it's going to sound really fundamental, but I think it's a good, just a good background in how it's going to work.
On the road of life, Sam and Maddie both work hard to make ends meet. Sam's a manager at a retail store. Maddie heads up human resources. They're both trusted with very important responsibilities. They put in well more than 40 hours a week, often 50, 60 or more, but without a dime of overtime, because outdated rules say they earn too much to qualify for time and a half. Sometimes their long hours break down to being paid even less on an hourly basis than the minimum wage. Overtime regulations for white-collar workers are out of date. The current salary threshold is so low that it's often hard for employers to determine who qualifies. That's why President Obama directed the Department of Labor to update the rules, making them simpler for workers and businesses. Now millions of Americans will be entitled to overtime pay when they work extra hours. What does this mean for Maddie and Sam? Well, Maddie earns $40,000 a year. Since that's below the new threshold for salaried white-collar workers, she qualifies for overtime pay. her employer must choose to pay her time and a half when she works overtime or raise her salary above the new threshold. Maddie always works hard to meet the needs of her employer, but without a bump up to the new salary level, now working extra hours equals extra pay. To meet the company's needs, Sam's boss shifted some of his workload to other employees. Now Sam doesn't have to work more than 40 hours a week without being paid more. This extra time away from work means extra options for Sam. He'll have more of his own time to spend with family or pursue other professional interests. That's the new overtime rule from the U.S. Department of Labor. It's a win-win for workers like Maddie and Sam, helping ensure that workers who should receive overtime pay get paid for their extra hours.
All right, now, Z, I got to tell you, I don't fully embrace Sam's scenario because basically what the narrator said was the employer decided instead of, letting Sam work 55 hours a week, he cut him 15 hours. Yes, that does give him more time with family or to pursue other professional interests, but it also affects his pocketbook pretty significantly. So I just want to tell you that I'm not naive. I do understand that sometimes even good things have negative consequences, and this is one of those times. In Sally's scenario, it's obviously much more optimistic financially. Depending on the employer, it may be cheaper to just keep Sam working 55 hours a week and pay him time and a half as opposed to spending full-time pay on another employee, unless you're working that employee part-time as well, but I still think it's cheaper to pay time and a half.
Well, or if you're paying two people $47,000, right, then you don't have to pay overtime to either of them, and you offload some of the work to someone else.
Right. So anyway, at the end of the day, and I do believe that ultimately this is good news. Again, just under 5 million people will now be covered under the umbrella of this new expansion of the law and a clarification of the law. And this is as a direct result of Congress not acting on certain mandates that we need to grow the economy. According to the estimates and again, I understand the bias that the White House provided, it would add $12 billion to the economy nationally. And so that's not a bad thing.
Well, and, it's about time. And he acted without Congress, which was, again, what he has to do because the Republicans could give a rat's ass about the rest of us. I mean, there are other things going on with labor too, and let me just give you two examples. I'll give you a real world scenario. Well, the second one's real world too, but it's more personal. Chicken plants, right? The plants that
Tyson and Purdue and all those
right.
Yeah.
All of that. Are not allowing their employees to take bathroom breaks.
Yeah, Mother Jones has, by the way, been doing an incredible series on that.
Yeah, I mean, this is, and I don't mean disgusting in like, ooh, that's gross. I mean, disgusting on the part of the employers. The workers are having to wear Depends and adult diapers to keep their jobs because they're not allowed to leave the production line to go to the bathroom. I mean, one, what country are we living in? And two, what century is it? I mean, this is not only cruel, it's dangerous. I mean, this is really dangerous. I mean, bathrooms and bathroom breaks and going to the bathroom seem to have taken the country by storm in conversations about this. Of which bathrooms you can use, of whether or not you can take a bathroom break, of, how many bathroom breaks are you taking, and do I need to cut your pay because you're going to the bathroom too much? I mean, this has gotten really ridiculous that we're living in a country like this at this point. it terrifies me.
I have a sister-in-law who works for a white-collar organization that may or may not provide insurance services. And they are actually timed how long they're in the bathroom. And if they exceed that time, they've actually been asked if their monthly visitor has come. They don't ask that of the men, of course. They ask that only of the women. And women where she works, which are the predominant employees there, have gotten to the point where they're afraid to go change a tampon or a Kotex.
Yeah, it's really this is really scary. I mean, and I had another story. My wife is in Vegas this week. Not for fun, believe me. She took a contract job doing an event in Vegas for 10,000 people, right? You know these big corporate events that they bring in their people.
And for those who don't know, she's a photographer. So
no, she's also
an event planner too. Yeah, you're right.
She worked in events for years and did big Microsoft events and AOL when AOL was a thing. But anyway, it was
funny. Oh, that was funny.
It was a week's worth of work, and it paid pretty well. What she didn't realize until she got there was that the days start at 5:30 in the morning, and they end at about 10, 11 o'clock at night. Now, this is a 52-year-old woman, who is essentially working 16 to 18-hour days and has to.
Eesh. Wow.
Eesh is right.
By the way, my son's there right now, but he is there for pleasure and comes home tomorrow. But that has nothing to do with anything. I got to tell you, and you just mentioned AOL, so this jogged my mind. I subscribe to, and it's just mind candy, this trivia question of the day. I've been subscribing to it for 15 years now. And it's evolved over the years. But one of the trivia questions a couple weeks ago was, you have to, they give you multiple choice answers, but one of them was, who was the largest producer of compact discs in the 1990s? And I'm thinking there were all these artists, right? And one of them was AOL. It was like, Prince and Queen, whatever, and AOL. And the answer was AOL at one point produced 70% of all CDs, compact discs in this country.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy?
That's insane. And again, it has nothing to do with anything. All right. So I wanted to give you a chance to hone your Dick Cheney imitation. And I thought the best way to do that, and I've been waiting anxiously, was to get some new audio. Well, Dick Cheney doesn't disappoint ever now, does he, Z?
No.
He sat down with conservative radio talk show host and commentator, when he's on MSNBC, they say that, Hugh Hewitt, who is a very intelligent man who's as delusional as any other conservative talk show host. But he had Dick Cheney on the show the other day, and their conversation was revealing. Now, I grabbed this audio, but you found it, so I want to give proper credit where it's due.
Well, thank you. Let's have a listen, shall we?
Mr. Vice President, you dealt with Iran a lot, both as Secretary of Defense, 8 years as Vice President. Do they strike you as a practically minded and responsive regime?
Absolutely not, Hugh. This is one of the most radical regimes in history, headed up by the mullahs who believe in a very sort of, I think, twisted version of the Quran, who are sworn to destroy Israel. Who always have these big meetings and did just this week as they were negotiating in Geneva, shouting death to America. This is a totally radical regime that is the premier sponsor of state terrorism in the world, and Obama's about to give them nuclear weapons. It's I can't think of a more terrible burden to leave the next president than what Obama's creating here.
Is he naive, Mr. Vice President, or does he have a far-reaching vision that only he entertains of a realigned Middle East that somehow it all works out in the end?
I don't know, Hugh. I vacillate between the various theories I've heard, but if you had somebody as president who wanted to take America down, who wanted to fundamentally weaken our position in the world, reduce our capacity to influence events, turn our back on our allies, and encourage our adversaries, it would look exactly like what Barack Obama is doing. I think his actions constitute, in my mind, those of the worst president we've ever had.
And I work for the worst president we've ever had.
All right, so here's the deal on that. First of all, if Dick Cheney said it, it must be true, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Barack Obama is not
why would he
about
lie?
to hand the regime of Iran nuclear weapons. Nothing close to that.
But that's what they keep saying.
I know that, Richard, but my partner Z knows better. Richard may not, but Z does.
But he was the vice president. He knows. He still has security clearance. He knows the real deal, Tony.
Yeah, he doesn't have security clearance anymore. Everything he's saying is based on guessing.
He knows what's going on. He's got to be telling the truth.
Well, just because he's on the radio and just because he's the former vice president doesn't make him truthful.
It's really amazing how they're rewriting history.
Yeah, it sure is.
I mean, and to say that too, I mean, after the amount of work and negotiations that went into this deal, to basically just lie, for what purposes? To what end, really? I mean, what's the point?
To make America unsafe again. At some level, I'm listening to the asshat Trump this morning and talking about making America great again, right? And then he says we're losing jobs, the economy's in the toilet. Well, we have record growth over the last 4 years. We have created more jobs in the last 4 years than Bush lost in the 8 years he was president. I can go on and on and on. I have more economic indicators, including new housing starts up at record levels that was announced this morning. But if you only listen to Donald Trump, America isn't great anymore. We have lost more jobs than we know what to do with, and we continue to, and the economy continues to get worse. Now listen, is it sluggish? Yes. Are we creating the kinds of good living wage jobs we wish we were? Absolutely not. But the country certainly isn't in the toilet, and the economy is doing far better than we could have fathomed it would do with the obstructionism in Congress.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we should play Brit Hume again.
Oh, please do.
Yeah, let's listen to that and what he has to say about the economy.
If you're looking for explanations for the rise of Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, there is one that covers both. It's the economy post-recession. President Obama and his defenders like to cite consecutive months of job growth and the drop in the unemployment rate. Boy, do those facts not tell the whole story. The number of people in poverty is up. The number on food stamps is up nearly 40%. Median income has dropped, and so has workforce participation. Oh, and first quarter growth this year was a pitiful 0.5%. That's why the Fed keeps the economy on interest rate life support. These facts represent serious economic distress for a huge segment of the public who are understandably frustrated, discouraged, and angry. They're attracted to Bernie Sanders' socialist promises and the force of Donald Trump's personality and his pledges to make things great again. This is not to say that the dislocations caused by technology, trade, and even immigration would vanish in a stronger economy, but their effects would be much diminished had we even had a normal recovery from the 2008 meltdown. You know who gets this? Hillary Clinton gets this. While Mr. Obama told college graduates over the weekend not to pine for the good old days because, quote, they weren't that great, She says, as you heard, she'll put her husband in charge of the economy. The message is clear. His were the good old days, and compared to now, they were. Brett?
But you've heard President Obama say he doesn't think that President Obama or his administration have got enough credit for saving the economy from what was a collapsing situation when he took office.
Well, a couple of things about that. It's worth remembering the president was sworn in January 20th, 2009. The economy began to grow again, signaling the end of the recession in June. That was before the stimulus legislation that he rammed through Congress with the help of Democrats controlling both houses had begun to take effect. The things that had taken effect, the Fed's action on interest rates, the much despised bailouts and loans that helped keep certain enterprises on their feet, they'd been put into place by previous administrations and continued by the president. So the credit for rescuing the economy, if it belongs with government, has got to be shared at least. And one more thing. Market economies recover from recessions because that's what they do. People go to work every day trying to make their enterprises grow again. That's where I suspect smart people would think most of the credit lies.
And it's interesting to see Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders say the economy is in tough times. Yeah. Britt, thank you.
Right. Oh, sweet Jesus. Britt.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely delusional. I mean, we had, under Clinton, had a massive surplus that Bush just drained.
What was the first thing? What was the first thing George Bush did when he took office? He gave tax cuts to the wealthy. Yeah. All right, that was number one. Then we were attacked on 9/11. And let us recall that he, at that point, forced us into a war that ended up draining multi-billions of dollars from our treasury while providing another tax cut to stimulate the economy. What happened? We lost hundreds upon thousands of jobs and almost lost legacy industries in this country forever. Beyond that, beyond those actions, he continued to be in denial about it and then gave the American people a check and said, go out and go shopping.
Yeah.
How well did that work out? And I can't, and at the time I owned a restaurant. And people would come in, the unwashed, the uneducated, the freaking stupid, would come in and say, I got my George Bush check. I got my George Bush check. And I wanted them to say, don't spend it here. I don't want your George Bush money here. But I did want it. I just, see, you understand my point.
Yeah, and I think we need to play this other clip with Eric Erickson and his explanation of why the economy did so well under Bill Clinton, because it kind of ties into this whole Brit Hume.
Yeah, let's get to it because we're going to run out of time.
Rewriting of economic history. This is precious.
Fine, let Bill handle the economy. If the man wants to pay the bills, too, like pay off the debt with all those Goldman Sachs speeches that they get to do. I mean, she doesn't realize her whole thing is, vote for me, I'm the woman, I can handle it, I've got the experience. And first thing she does about the number one issue in all the exit polls is the economy and jobs. And she says, don't worry. Twofer, we're going to get Bubba to do it. I mean, it makes it's craziness.
I figured this out. I don't
but
think any of that.
But don't you think the economy was a myth in the 90s?
Yes.
It's a myth.
And here are the numbers. Reaganomics came in. The reason why Bill did so well is because of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan came in 1980 and left in 88. In 80, GDP was negative 0.3%. When he left, it was 7.91% annualized. Inflation dropped from 13% down to 4%, and unemployment went from 8 down to 5. Great times. Poverty down, taxes down, real income up. So he had this massive amount of momentum going forward. H.W. Bush, 4 years, and then Clinton takes over. And to his credit, Bill Clinton actually helped out. He also kept the momentum going. He had a great 8 years economically. But one thing happened under Bill Clinton that Hillary Clinton will never mention, and this is because it's part of her campaign's platform in 2016. Under Bill Clinton, income inequality spiked to its widest part in modern history. So under Bill, incomes went way up for the top 1%, while they went up for the lower, but not nearly as high. And here's why. Because he deregulated Wall Street. And what I think this is all about, this whole thing, not because the husband's going to take care of the economy, it's her hat tip to Wall Street saying, this guy was good to you in the 90s, he'll be good to you again if you elect me president, and that'll keep that money flowing for her.
Interesting.
Wow. Interesting and complete and utter bullcrap.
Yeah. So now, wait a minute. So now conservatives are anti-Wall Street?
Wait a minute. Wait. Let's back up a little bit. How did we skip George H.W. Bush in that conversation? How did we skip read my lips, no new taxes? How did we skip that without those taxes, we would have been in even a more egregious economic situation when Bill Clinton took office?
Right.
How do we skip a presidency? How do we skip 4 years that saw our economy go into the toilet and Bill Clinton save it? And as much as I hate, despise, cannot stand, and if I haven't made it clear, dislike Rahm Emanuel, he is the one that spearheaded the effort to turn the economy around and did a masterful job at it. All right? But to say that, and I love the line, the income for the top 1% went up, and it did for everyone else, just not exponentially the same. Oh, but it did go up, but we're sorry it didn't go up as much as it did for the 1%. Well, hello, it never does.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, both of these, the Brit Hume basically saying that George W. Bush deserves credit because, I mean, here's the thing, right? So George W. Bush deserves credit for Obama's economic policy. The reason Clinton did so well is because of Ronald Reagan. And then, according to Dick Cheney, somehow, I don't know. I just don't know.
Ideology. Let's leave people with this little tidbit. I'll make you chuckle, and then we'll get out of here for today. According to the Hill publication, in a meeting this month, House Freedom Caucus Chairman Jim Jordan and conservative ally Rep. Mark Meadows presented two options to Speaker Paul Ryan: hold hearings to impeach IRS Commissioner John Koskinen, or will force a vote on the matter on the House floor. Yes, we can't get Congress to do anything, including funding the Zika virus defense or helping the people of Flint or other communities that have serious lead issues. But let's impeach the IRS commissioner because, frankly, it make us look good. I'll let you take it from here and get us out of here.
Yeah, just go to tnztalk.com and find out how to support us, how to follow us, how to friend us. Tony?
Yes, and I want to remind you, do not go to Jonathan Capehart's Twitter and try to find Richard Zombeck or anything to do with Richard Zombeck. He has been banned. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow with plenty to discuss. In the meantime, I want to thank everybody for being with us today. For Richard Zombeck, I am Tony Trupiano, and as always, we ask that you be well.
Oh yeah, can you feel it? Just over the credits, just riffing now. Words and chords. Not the poetry and the real thing, but not bad for an ad-lib. Not good, but... It's not long enough, so just do a little bit more, and that's nearly done. That's the final credit there. That's the end.